Um, yeah. So, hello, guys. The reason for this episode is because I want to do a mini part series. This will be episode one on it, and we will be covering multiple topics. This topic is something I'm personally more passionately about. I've got more feet in this camp than say the one I'm going to do on trans, the one I'm going to do on gay. This is something personally I have suffered from, and it's going to be talking about men's mental health in comedy and the stand-up world. Now, with me, I have three absolute two brilliant comedians and Paul. So,
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
so I have a Javad from Liverpool. How's it going, brother?
All good, man.
Good
Thank
man. Mark from South Yorkshire. Is that correct?
Yeah, hello, Sheffield. Yeah,
Sheffield. Yeah, gang, gang. And Bristolians,
Bristolian.
Bristolian. Paul, how's it going, brother?
We're doing good, brother. We're going good.
How's it going? So I'll sort of start this off, and then sort of like fill the room a little bit. So, men's mental health in comedy. One thing I've seemed to have noticed doing the pod, speaking to a lot of male comedians, is that a lot of comedians they start comedy from a dark place. And whilst I don't think we should do it, we do it as a form of cheap man's therapy. We do sort of go up there to be like, self-deprecated, laugh at me, and then it nullifies the issues you've got because you're trying to make light heart of them, but we're not actually addressing the situation. So
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of why I got into comedy, and I've never really said it on the pod. I was going to have a child, a girl, and I painted my spare room different color. It was going to be a girl. Was going to call it Lily. I went to every single hospital, every single private scan. I kitted Lily out for about 2 years worth of clothes, everything. I was so excited to be a dad. And I found out about 38 weeks into it that I wasn't going to be a father. I wasn't the dad.
Right.
And that got taken from me. And I know everyone always says you dodged a bullet. And in essence, I probably did dodge a bullet. But there was so much raw emotion behind that even to this day, if I watch anything like I was watching Big Bang Theory, don't know why, and it was like when he was like, "I'm gonna be a father," and that emotion came straight back to me again. Not the
And you
thought of
bought into the whole thing, though, hadn't you? You were invested, like your heart and soul was invested into the thought of being. The fact you even named the child
yeah,
said that you
yeah,
you weren't just waiting for something to happen. You were prepared for that lifestyle change.
a million percent. And in sort of like 38 weeks, I found out I wasn't gonna be a dad, and I considered myself with her, but she had been cheating on me for like the year to year 2 years, and all her response was, "Oh, you got to get over it. It's not your kid." And I never saw her again. And then never saw the baby. All I saw about a year when I thought I was over it. This now goes back into May this year. I saw a picture of her with her baby saying, "I used to be in a toxic relationship. Now my life's complete." Where she was the narcissist, but she portrayed me as the villain,
That's what narcissists and sociopaths do.
and that broke me. And that was probably the lowest point in my life. And I thought, you know what? Uh, I'm just going to try something completely new. And then I just tried comedy, and that's all I got into. So I'm just trying to show the vulnerability here that I'm not holier than now. I said earlier, I'm not doing this to be like, oh, let's laugh at some depressed people. This is going to be great clickbait.
No, no, it's that's heavy, man. It's just like, I mean, for me, it was a we do it doing a pass the torch around the room thing. It was I was always Paul the rugby player, and like I said, that was the biggest part of my life. I played from an early age, and I played a decent standard all the way through my life, and was good at what I did. And then injury took that away literally overnight, and then I lost my identity, and I searched for ages and ages trying to find the next sort of thing to trying to fill that hole. Like I said, I tried acting, which I did well at. And then once I felt I'd completed that, I moved on to, listen, and I wrote a book. And then once I did that, I got halfway through the second book and thought, well, fuck that. I've completed that already. And yeah, and this one here is just. I said to you, or when we did the podcast, like before the one-on-one, and it was the buzz you get from it, and the fright and fear and the anxiety and the different sort of emotional hit you get from it is I can't leave this one alone for some reason. But again, from the mental health side of things, I want to be liked. I just want to be liked and adored and admired, and it's great when you hear someone laughing at you, or you're great when someone says, "Well, I wish I had the balls to do that." In actual fact, I still got to take a beta blocker to get on stage. Because it's fucking petrifying, isn't it? Let's have it right. It don't matter how hard you are or how scary you are. If you ain't funny, you're fucking bombing.
What about yourself, Mark?
Yeah, thanks for sharing all those. I think it is that thing, isn't it? It does give you that high.
We weren't recording then. We'll record now.
There's your laugh there.
Yeah, we got him, boys. We got him.
Yeah. Beep.
So go on, brother.
Yeah, no, I think it is that thing about it is an emotional roller coaster, isn't it, really? And like the highs of coming off the stage when it goes really well, and equally, you know, if you don't do as well or whatever, it just doesn't land, or you know, those times when you've got tiny audiences, and had you had a bigger audience, it would have been a lot more laughing, you know. It's those things. But yeah, I guess I think for me, I got into it by accident, really. So I've got a lot of background doing training or public speaking or that kind of stuff. So that bit didn't really faze me. I wanted a different challenge, so I just did it for a charity challenge with the ultra comedy stuff, and then got the bug, and then been doing it for almost 2 years. But I still get terrified just before going on stage, and that stuff around, you know, looking around the audience, how is it going to land, you know, why am I doing this? Do you know what I mean? And I think the other thing is, as well as the actual material, is kind of the lifestyle in inverted commas. You know, like, you know, I work pretty much full time doing various things. So then you're gigging on the evening, you've got the long journeys, inevitably you're grabbing food, you're back late at night, you don't sleep very well because you're on, so all that has its impact as well. I think so. It's not just that kind of on the stage bit. And I think, like Paul says, we all want to be liked, don't we? That's, you know, nobody does it because they want to be like, have tomatoes being thrown at them or whatever.
A million percent. Yeah, everyone, we want to be liked, even though like sometimes we have to portray an alternative persona that we don't care as much. But the demons do eat up inside you, and you know, like, I mean, in society, you feel like you have to be this bastion, this, like, you know, this brave person, and being a man in particular. Like they always say, you know, like men's men, like you can't open up and stuff, and if you open up, you're considered weak and stuff. And it's not the case. I mean, Javad, how did you get into it?
So about when I was about 17, that's 2008. I'm 35 now. So
doing the maths.
Yeah. Math, you know, that this face has to do it. So 17, I was diagnosed with clinical depression. It's kind of similar to what Paul said. I basically used to be a left winger for my college football team. And then I got this injury, a spinal injury. And then I had surgery. The day of the injury actually was the day of a trial where a coach from, I think it was the Atletico Madrid club franchise coming in Pakistan for the very first time. And I was in the trials. On the day of the trial, I had a match before the trial. It was a friendly, it was an easy five-a-side, but I got tackled on that day. And the cleats went into my spine. And then, you know, it's everything else spiraled from there. So that was when I was 17. I started doing comedy about 10 years back in 2012, 13 years back in 2012, owing to one poem that I was doing on my injury. So I was doing a spoken word poem on that injury. And there's this line, I don't remember that line exactly, but I said that line and people laughed. And that was there for that exact purpose, to make people laugh. It's a very serious poem, a very cringy, sad, angry poem, but there was this one line. I wish I could remember that, but it made people laugh. And as soon as they did,
Is it because you told them you were playing football to start with?
well, they were, that would have been laughing at me. This they laughed with. That would have been like, oh yeah, that would have been that special. But yeah, so they laughed, and I was like, maybe it is time to like go from this poetry thing to maybe try this venture. And I went into my first open mic about again 2012, and I bombed horribly, but I was still chasing that one laugh. So I guess that's how I got into it, and I've been doing it for now about 13 years. Had my 1 hour special shot last year in Lahore. This year I brought it to the Fringe. So that's all.
Amazing.
Oh, question. So when you bomb, I mean, I know if you've seen any episodes in the pod, I ask every single person who comes on, what time did they bomb the hardest? When you bomb, do you sort of take it as they didn't like my set or they don't like me?
Who's taking this one?
Like, oh, you might as well carry on, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, I guess. So for me, it's like I take it to heart. Like I just go like, oh, they don't like me. I didn't come across as likable. I might have said something very, something that is not that appropriate for the audience. Maybe they kind of backed off from me. Maybe I didn't approach myself as being likable on the stage. So I internalize it a lot. And I still do, even though I've been doing this for a while. I still feel sometimes that it's me, not the audience. But I've talked to a lot of comics. I've made like a lot of these little conversations where people generally tell me that sometimes it is the audience, but I find it very difficult to sort of separate that internalization and go like, maybe the joke was funny and the audience is not ready for it. It's just like, oh, I suck. Like it's just how I internalize it. So yeah.
I think for me, I think it was Sarah Millican. I don't know if you've heard this, but she talks about Millikan's law. And I when I first doing comedy started, I absolutely loved it. So it's that thing of, if you've done a really good gig, yeah, keep flying for 24 hours. Go, yeah, you're brilliant, you're amazing, fantastic. But after 24 hours, right, reset, back on it. And equally, the same applies if it's the other way and it's glass half empty because you've downed the other half because you bombed,
Yeah.
And it's that if you have a bad gig, you can have 24 hours to dwell on it, beat yourself up, whatever, and then reset again. And yeah, I was told that quite early on, so that's always stuck with me. So I feel like I've got a little Sarah Millican on my shoulder.
But a couple of people have said that to me recently, and I always say I always do it until my next wank. That's my factory reset. Well, there we go. I've ejaculated. I'm back in the room again.
So now I'm gonna have Sarah on one shoulder and you on the other.
Me jerking on your other shoulder, please, Mark. That's the vision I now want you to have. Okay.
It really does depend on the place you're doing as well, doesn't it? Like I said, it's for me personally. Like you said, it can be a mix of, it's either the material, because again, you've heard my set, mate, yeah. And it's quite sort of it can be inflammatory, but it's, again, I like to think it's from the right place. But again, people will have the way I dress, the way I carry myself, people will have a conception. Especially, I was having a chat on the weekend with somebody and he went, oh, I expect a lot of your people expect you to have a Union Jack like wrapped around your back nowadays, don't they? And all that the way, But again, this is like, which is why I pick on absolutely everybody and everything in my set, and then nobody can say I'm prejudiced towards any one sort of person, because I hate everyone. So fuck them.
Well, yeah. I'm guilty of that with you, because when we was on that bill a couple of while back, some guy shouted something at me, and I was like, I'm friends with Paul at the back, the guy in the Stone Island jacket. I'll get him to come sort you out. Yeah. So I was like, I apologise.
I know, Paul, and you fucking don't with your words, I think.
I mean, so would you say you consider comedy, like stand-up in general, as, cheap man's therapy? Is it a way to get things off your chest that maybe should be delved into deeper, but you're only sort of skimming the surface?
I reckon it's a way of proving you're still brave at doing something. I've got the guts. It's being brave doesn't mean you're happy to have a fight or anything like that. It's bullshit. Doing something which everybody consistently, man or woman, says, I don't know how you've got the nuts to do it. says, when, like I said, and I'll admit about taking the beta blockers before I do it to kind of calm my nerves, still frightening as fuck. And like I said, it shows that you've still got a bit of minerals about you, I suppose, because it's incredibly hard, because it's not even just getting on the stage, it's the remembering, putting things in the right order, thinking of something on the way to the gig and thinking, I'm going to do that tonight, and then telling yourself, shit, you shouldn't do it. You should just you could take Easy Street and revert to the old, I'm going to do the bass set. Do you know what I mean? It's a billion different things. Like, you have different scenarios in life, like you said, and you have that internal conversation with yourself in a split second. It's the same on stage. Do I do the joke now or not? Yeah, bang, and before you know it, you're into it. And once you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, aren't you? and that's when you find out whether it's going to work or not, and you've got the bottle or not. So,
yeah, I mean, 100% agree. Yeah, this the joke, but as I say, is there a difference between courage and delusion? Like, in reality, what fucking weirdo goes up and tries to make, from 7 people to 200 people laugh? That's not normal.
But that's the delusion of grandeur, isn't it? Whether it's 7 people, you're still trying to make someone laugh, but you think, I could do that to a room of 400. And that's where you're like, but when they laugh, that's when it stops becoming a delusion. And it's like, and that's where the high comes into it. But then you do have to walk away from it sometimes thinking, ooh, was that good?
I mean, Mark, I'll do you next. Like, do you consider comedy like stand-up cheap man's therapy?
Good question. I mean, when you were talking, it made me think occasionally, I think this is just habit, and I do this with friends and in work and all that anyway. I'll often say something, and just as a throwaway line, I go, oh, it's not my therapy session. And I find that sometimes I do that on stage, like just instinctively, because that's what I do. And then that gets the laugh. So I think there's something about people seeing you as vulnerable, and also that oversharing bit as well, that kind of that sort of internal monologue, but you've said on stage in a microphone, and then you're like, oh, kind of catching yourself, and people find that funny. I think it also it is, I suppose it is about acceptance on some level, and putting yourself out there, and actually, yeah, it's that buzz, like we keep saying. I think it is that buzz. And like, I've had some dark places in my time. I've had friends, I've had family in dark places and stuff. And there's some material I've thought about using, I haven't been brave enough to use yet, partly because I've not formulated. But I remember, years ago, I was a really dark place in terms of sort of depression, anxiety. And if my friend said to me, my housemate at the time, do you want a ham sandwich or a cheese sandwich for lunch? Literally, it would be like somebody said to me, right, you've got to have one of your cats killed. Which cat do you want? That's how big that decision was in my own head. And I'll never forget that. And yeah, maybe I will try that at some point. But it's that kind of insight, I think. And how do you use that to also connect with the audience? Because yes, we want to make people laugh, but also if something resonates with somebody, and it sort of normalizes a bit that actually, everyone has a tough time, and do something about it, talk to somebody about it, whether it's your friend, whether it's a mate down the pub, or whether it's to pick the phone up and give Samaritans call, whatever. Their number's 116123, by the way. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's good. We'll put that in the description.
I think it is really important. And, sometimes it's a bit of a cliche. It's okay to not be okay, but it really is. It feels shit at the time, but it really is. It's about kind of getting the help, talking about it, because when you're in it, you're in such a dark place that you think this is how you'll always be, and nothing will ever change. And that's not always the case for many people.
Have you noticed that a lot of people, they'll do, when they're doing like the darker humor, they'll joke about cancer, AIDS, all like the major diseases, right? But no one ever, but I think that because it's so current and in the and can affect everybody in some shape or form, whether you are at the top of the tree or at the very bottom, they don't really joke about the whole mental health thing, do they? And that is kind of like it's kind of, I think that's one of the real taboo ones that no one would ever really want to take the piss out of, because that's the one where people can say, well, fucking hell, that was a bit too much, and it will resonate with them in a massively negative way.
Yeah. Well, would you say like the okay? I know you can't really do a correlation here, but the darker the comedian, the more demons in the closet.
Not really though. Like it's Robin Williams probably did not do as much of dark humor yet.
No.
We know how he ended his
Mm.
life. And there's so many things, like you have so many dark comics going on about, like Anthony Jeselnik comes to mind right now at present. I don't think he's going to kill himself because he does dark humor. It's just something that people do and how they cope. Like for instance, a lot of people have that edgy dark side to them, but don't necessarily have that sort of psychosis attached to it that they are depressed. It's just how they see the world. Because a lot of people, for us, especially comedians who delve into observational humor, a lot of things will be dark because it's just how it is. Like trauma and anything that can be like instilled into something that was, oh, don't talk about this. A comedian would go like, can I touch that? It's like Dee and Dexter, like don't touch that button, but Dee is going to touch that.
Mm.
So it is that. And I think generally, I don't know if like it's cheap man's therapy, because honestly setting up a show ain't cheap, man. Like it costs a lot. Like going to a gig costs a lot, so I don't know about the cheap part. Like, but it is catharsis. Like I wouldn't like say it as an absolute form of therapy, but it is definitely catharsis. Like it does help you navigate a lot of things in your life. You're making light of some things that are inherently dark in your mind. So it does help. But
Yeah, but you're not guaranteed to succeed. That's that's the difference. Is if you're in a bad place already and you go on and you bomb, you're going further down into that little black hole. And it ain't no, like you said, you need the people to laugh. You
yeah,
need the people to bring you out of that little slump. And like I said, that would be like going to a therapist, finishing the session halfway because he's got to do it, go for lunch, and then you've opened up a can of worms that you can't shut. So it's like if you are using it for that, it's a dangerous one to tread on.
it is.
I've always thought that with a therapist. They're going like, and it's that's the hour done. See you next
Yeah, you
week.
cheeky prick.
Yeah, it's like leaving me on this cliffhanger.
Yeah.
It's like, I went to the doctor's once, and I was like, I had like a thing on my foot. I had a cough. I was like, oh, and I've got and he was like, oh, I can only listen to two things at once. And I was like, well, it's a good thing my third thing wasn't about depression, isn't it? Like, I can't listen to that right now, I'm afraid. Tune in next week. Like, it's a bit.
I suppose the other comparison, there's some good therapists and some rubbish therapists. There's some good comedians and less good comedians.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the thing is, everyone has their funny, right? A lot of people like certain kind of humor, and there is a comedian to cater to that person. But if there's a shitty therapist doing a shitty job, then that's a problem. Like, it's not like that you have a bad comedian and suddenly people are like completely, their lives are ruined. If there's a bad therapist, man, that is just
What you really want to hope in the world is that we're the therapist and that somebody in the crowd might just need to laugh. And that's what you want to hope.
Well, one thing I love, I don't know if you've seen the episode. I think it was like episode 47 or something. Dark comedian Callum. He will get booed off a lot of stages. He does a lot of dark material, but he hits on mental health, and he says, "I don't care if 99% of the room hate me. If I can get that message to that one bloke in the back of the room who needs to hear it the most, that you can make light of certain topics, who will take that with him, that then he considers he's had a successful night."
What does he say to get booed off? Like,
Okay, a lot. So, some of them is like his sister become disabled in a vegetated state when she was 5 years old, so he can never. Every time he boils potatoes and they rise to the top, they remind him of her. And like Joe, I think like he'll be up your street, to be honest. Like, I don't want to take his material too much, but one of them was like his neighbor knocks on his door and says, you fucked my wife, and he was like, how do you know? He was like, oh, she was so guilty she killed herself. And he's like, no, she didn't kill herself because of that, because when I fucked her she was already dead. And It's like, very dark.
It's like you're taking it to a place there, aren't you?
Yeah, he really takes it to like, finding like roadkill on the sides of the road as lube. Like he's very, very dark, but he suffers from mental health, and
Mate,
that's his
listening to
way
that,
of.
that makes me feel like I'm Mr. Tumble compared to that. Do you know what I mean?
You're gonna be doing kids shows, mate. To be
Come on,
honest, like in comparison, but it's like, how do you think men should be perceived in comedy?
Sexy. I don't know. Like it's just pretty. I mean, with this hair, the amount of good fortune that comes my way, apart from everything, is nice. But I think men should just be perceived as any other human being should be perceived. They should be listened and not judged based on solely on their content. Because again, we all have a persona on stage. Somebody is a bumbling idiot. Somebody is an overconfident asshole. Somebody is someone, I guess. But it's a persona. It's there, and it should just be perceived as that. There's too much. There's too much over analytical shit happening now, where it's like, oh, did this joke meant this? No, he was just telling a joke. Like, just live with it. Like, it doesn't have to go into the deeper realms of things. Sometimes a joke is a joke. You just laugh.
You could. It depends on where you're doing your show as well, doesn't it? Like I said, you could be perceived on stage in one way. Like I said to you the other day when we was up in Essex, Dan, when Terry Gargan, I find him really amusing. He's very similar sort of humor.
Oh, he's funny like Terry. Yeah.
The way he carries himself is I took a lot from the way I am. Like that, do you know what I mean? And look, I thank you for that because I'm on one of his shows on the 27th. But there's a bit of self plug in there. But the if I went going to Essex, I know that I can dress the way I want, I can talk the way I talk, and I'll be carried on, and I will be accepted a lot better there than I would be, like I would be, say, in a little an arty little pub in the centre of Bristol where it's very bohemian and very lefty. Do you know what I mean? And I said, I don't like to say lefty to be all political, but it's not. Those people, they're a little bit more. I'm gonna say wokey then. Or you're wokey instead of lefty, and a bit more sensitive to things. I would be taking completely different, and my jokes, you might hit one or two, like I did last week in Cleveland, but half the room wanted me dead, I swear.
Yeah, and there's also a point there that wish ill on you. Now, I don't know anyone's political views, but I will touch on this almost. What's everyone's views of the obvious men's mental health issue underlying with the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk?
Oh, fucking hell.
Because obviously he's not come from a safe space.
Deep shit. But
do you know what? He's regardless of what his political view is, he shot somebody and killed them. Let's take on that. He's fucking nuts to start with, right? Because again, you gotta be a special kind of fucker to pull the trigger and take someone's life. That's it.
But my question: if someone had checked in on that person before, if they got the help if someone had diagnosed them quicker, if they'd seen that this person did have an underlying issue and it was addressed, and do you know what I mean? They put things in place. Would it still been the same outcome? Is there enough help for people out there? Or is it just all swiped under the rug?
He came from a family where his mum was one political view and his dad was there. From what I've read in the news, anyway, one was liberal, one was conservative or Republican, whatever you want to call it over there, right? And he won a presidential scholarship to go to the university he went to, I believe. So he's right up there, sort of like academically right up there. So he may not have presented in any shape or form, yet you know what the internet's like? It's fucking, he could have read up and gone, I'm going to be that person. He could have said, I want to be the John Wilkes Booth for this generation. I want to just take that person out. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I want to make a name for myself and being the person that martyred Charlie Kirk.
I mean, so you sort of hit the nail on the head, the bit I wanted to get out of that conversation. He looked and could perceive himself as a normal person.
The guy that stabbed that girl on the train has been convicted of like 15 to 20 different sort of violent crimes, I believe, right? Yeah. So he was presented, regardless of his background, his color, a criminal past. You couldn't go, well, that's the guy we need to keep an eye on, right? This guy is from a good, solid background, regardless of his political view, and he's just gone, fuck it, I'm going for it.
So my point to get with Paul is, how easy is it to diagnose men's mental health?
Ridiculously hard, because unless you're presenting,
Yeah,
it's a lot to do with the stigma around men speaking up. Like, who do you talk to with your, what do you talk to with your mates? Pretty much nonsense. Like, it's nothing that is going to be deeply underlying or talking about your feelings as like, okay, how was your day, mate? All right. And that's it. That's the end of the conversation. You buy, you get drinks, you get boozed up, you have a good time, you laugh it all out, and then at the end of the day, that void is still in there. So whatever that is, it needs to be sort of harnessed into the checking in part, because everyone who checks in, the answer is always that, all right, I'm all right, like it's okay, because there's that age-old narrative stigma with this whole thing of like uber masculinity coming in, that yes, men or men's men, they don't say anything, they just do it, and they don't feel anything, they just do it. That is a problematic statement, because it invalidates that man in its essence. That is what is taking away the masculinity, actually, the irony being that. But unfortunately, it's not there. And the thing that I was trying to say is that it's very easy in hindsight to look at how things have gone wrong and how should we check them, because it's never that easy to go into that entire thing on the essence. Now here's the thing: a left-wing extremist shot a right-wing extremist. They're both mentally deranged. The problem is that, and that is where our imaginations and our sort of vocalities or vocabularies fail. We don't have words for that. We have right, left wing, but we don't have anything for in between. What about those gray areas? What about
you got to worry about the blokes that get on stage and try and make people laugh, then, haven't you?
yeah, exactly. It's us. We're the right people. Anyway, no, I'm just saying, but this is not. But it's just, that's what it is. It's so difficult. So there's like a spectrum of everything, but where's the spectrum of like talking about, okay, so the crazy is on the left and the crazy is on the right. They're both wanting to kill each other, but the man that suffers is the in between one, because he wants to listen to Joe Rogan. He also wants to listen to, I don't know, some left anarchist bloke. They're both sounding right because they can speak nice words, but at the end of the day, they're both full of shit because they're not doing anything. And that's where the sort of vocabulary fails us entirely. And this particular case is exactly that case study where the vocabulary has failed both the left and the right to talk about what mental health or men's mental health should be.
I had a little in a monologue chuckle there. I was like, "This is like the worst rendition of "Stuck in the Middle" by Spielers Wheelers." So I goes to the left of the extremists to the right, doing comedy in the middle with you. I don't know why that's sort of come, but but then I do feel like when I meet up with my friends and do talk to my friends, I don't want to speak to them about the woes I'm going through because I do not want to be perceived as weak. Like, and I am guilty of it. Like, you know, like one of my mates was saying something, I'm like, dry your eyes, mate. Or it was my mate's birthday 2 days ago. I went out my way to message him saying in the group chat, it's your birthday. I'm acknowledging your birthday. I'm not wishing you a happy one. And
see, now how I would do that is on group chats. I'll never wish anybody a happy birthday on a group chat just to be mean, but I will message them privately so no one else can see that I've been nice.
Fair enough. I mean, like, Mark, what's your like experience like, you know, like trying to talk to your mates and stuff?
Yeah, well, and again, apologies if there's background noise. I've got dogs and cats hissing at each other, so it's not my stomach, by the way. And I was going to say this has ended up being like an episode of Newsnight in places, isn't it? Really, but I think again, I'm probably a bit different to you guys. So I actually do talk to my friends quite a lot. I've got a lot of female friends as well, and that's sort of our culture, I suppose. I've done helpline volunteering in the past. I'm trained in counselling, therapy, psychology as well. So I was like, should I keep that under my wraps? But I've just said that as well. So I suppose I've been around that for years in that sort of, you know, helping stuff. So I can see how useful it is. However, it is very easy to not practice what I preach. So I'm totally behind. It's all right not to be okay. Talk to somebody about it, all that. But I know there are times when I just go inward and I'll retreat and and almost have a, Mark, you should speak to somebody. Like, just call up a friend. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not ready for it today. But I have got a handful of close friends that I will reach out to, if I've had a really bad day, and they just know how to handle me. And I've also got some friends that know, they'll be like, oh, that's rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And almost like on that surface level. And occasionally I might need that, but a lot of the time I'll need just somebody to listen in that sense when I've had a bad day. And that school of thought about, I think like Joe was saying, that people say, oh, you're
Leaving us on a cliffhanger.
all right. Sorry. Yeah, there's that bit around saying, asking twice, are you okay? Are you really okay? And I think that's really important as well, because we all have days when
you can see when someone's not okay, whether they say I'm all right or not. You can.
I don't think you can't always.
Do you reckon?
I don't think you always can. I don't think like I said, I don't think it's that paramount sometimes when someone isn't okay.
The thing is, though, is that making, like I said, it's the different. I get it. So why haven't you called so and so recently? We ain't called me.
I'm so guilty of that. I'm so guilty of that.
But I would say probably 90% of the blokes, if we're talking about the whole sort of like comedy thing, but we're doing about men now, is men in general will be like, well, he ain't speaking to me, I'm not speaking to him first, sort of thing. It's like a battle of wills, isn't it? It's stupid.
Yeah, 100. I like Mark, coming from that position of like experience. Then I know they're saying about 5 C's. Like right, 5 C's, like compassion, care,
chicken.
That's obviously the third one. Yeah. What's the other one, God? What's the other one then? Compassion, care. What is it? Connection, compassion, coping, community. Oh, and it is chicken.
Yeah.
Fuck off. It's care and care. So yeah, like, sorry, going back to it, I don't think it is always obvious. Like, we will go on stage and we will, play the sad clown, but off stage we will say, oh, it's all fine. Like,
again, it's that mask again, though, isn't it? It is that mask. Stepping on stage with that, like I said, the bravado, the smile, the chuckling at yourself when you're on the stage. You get to be, if you're having a bad day and in yourself, that character you put on is an act. It's the ultimate lie acting, isn't it? Like convincing somebody you're everybody you're somebody else for that, even if it's for 10, 15 minutes.
I mean, like, Mark, let me go on to you a second. So you said, like, you've got your network, you've got your people to talk to. Do you ever start that conversation? Hi, Sally, I've had a shit day today. Can I talk about it? Or do you wait to get asked?
No, I do start. It's probably by message first. I think a few weeks ago, I messaged a friend going, are you about late? 'Cause I've had a really crap day. I just need to offload. And yeah, so I could be better at it, but yeah, I think I've learned to do it.
Because that scares me more than going on stage a million times over.
Yeah, and the same friend said to me, because she had a bad time a while ago, and I was like, oh, well, I need to talk about something, but I can't bother her with it. And I remember saying that to her, and she said, yeah, but what would you say to me if you were having a really tough time and I rang you up, needed to talk? And I was like, well, of course I'd speak to you. I'd say I'm probably not firing all cylinders at the moment, so you may not get the most listening, supportive Mark, but I'll show up for you. And she goes, well then, and that really stuck with me, because it is hard to do. It is hard to do, but I think it's about where you can, knowing who you can talk to. And if you can't talk to anyone, for whatever reason, because you haven't got anyone or you don't want to tell them, then please just pick the phone up to the Samaritans. Somebody's there 24/7. It's that, I was going to say, it's that simple. I know it's very brave to do and it's really hard to do, but they're there.
But the thing is that I would never do that. And when I went through that incident, a lot of people said to me, I need to go to therapy. And I said, I don't want to go to therapy because the people don't know me. They're getting paid to talk to me. They don't know me. They don't know my mind. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to relate to me. So what's the point of? And it's very bloody catcher in the rye. You know, what's the point of talking to a phony? They don't get me. They don't understand how my mind works. They think they do, but they don't know how my mind works. So
Yeah,
why bother
they only
speaking
know
to anyone?
they know how your mind works from a textbook, don't they? If you're looking at it like that,
Yeah.
it's not a they could just be the most caring person in the world, but they're also doing it to get paid as well. That's where my one is.
Yeah.
But like coming from Mark's perspective, I get what I also you can see that from that side of things, that if you've literally got no one else before you like, you know, kick the house of cards over and pack up, I suppose try it because it might work.
Well, go watch Paul's stuff live first and make you feel better about your life 100%, you know. Seeing how shit someone could be on stage. Bloody hell.
See,
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm joking. See, that's a problem as well. I think we also do in the stand-up world of comedians. We're talking about something, you know, upsetting, but we try and make light of it. As comedians, we try and find jokes amongst things, and then it's sort of like, right, that puts it back to factory settings. Instead of addressing it, we'll try and make light heart of it.
But I guess that's the nice sort of departure from therapy to comedy that is necessary. I mean, it'll get very boring if the comedian goes like, "Oh, a lot to unpack there," and just starts unpacking the thing. I think that just becomes a TED talk, and I think nobody's paid or even went in there for free to watch an open mic night. So I think it's a good distinction to have. Generally, the idea or the order of the day should be that if a male comedian is doing comedy and is suffering from depression, like most of us here are, then the ideal scenario is that do take up therapy, like go to therapy, do that. It will help you, because as someone who's been in therapy for a while, it has helped me a lot, like in terms of going up on stage, not getting that anxiety or panic attack every time I go up on stage, or just trying to ground myself. It has helped, like, and it does help. I know that there is like a lot of quacks out there who just don't know what they're talking about, talking about comedy, but like
I love that one. That's a good. Is it? You love a good tag. I love a good tag. I'm always guilty for it.
So, my joke of the
Sorry,
night.
Paul's a bit slow.
Yeah.
A lot happening, but it's important for us to have that distinction going, that yes, comedians will just taper it. The therapist has to unearth it or chisel it and stuff like that. So that's how a good society should function. And I am an anarchist, so I think we need to take it out of the boxes anyway. So yeah.
But my issue with that, so this is gonna be a complete different bit almost. I went Brighton Uni. One of my favourite clubs to always go to was Revenge. It was the gay club in Brighton because when it was the easiest place to pull, because when women went there, they were like, "Hold on a minute, no one's giving us attention anymore." Hey, him over there, like he was like, "Hello, I'm here." And there was what they called a tarot card reader, and she was like doing it in the club, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fuck with this person. I'm just gonna make shit up and lead them down the road, and let's see how much they can say stuff with conviction that I know is bullshit, but I'm gonna play along. And I want to sort of transition that into therapy. I'm worried that with therapy, I would consider it a game. Like, how much can I lead her down the wrong path? How much can I pretend this is true? Or, you know, oh, yeah, like they say something like, that's really true. But it wouldn't be true.
You'd be saying in your head,
game.
you'd be saying in your head, you ain't smarter than me. I'll get the better of you here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that just, again, it's all, you're going down that sort of Bond villain path, then, aren't you? That's like sort of maniacal, sort of like whether you're the Joker or something like that is like, which is again the men's mental health in comedy again. We're touching on it. Are we all? It's not just about being depressed. Are we all a little bit fucking mad as well?
I think it's defense mechanisms, isn't it? That's what you're talking about, putting that wall up because for whatever reason you're not ready to, you don't want to, or whatever. And like I said, I feel like we're getting really deep now, but I think people need different things at different times, and you know, and therapy, coaching, counseling, that whole different range of spectrum are right for people at different times, and it's about ultimately you've got to want to be able to go on that journey. It's like holding a mirror up, and actually sometimes people and you know, all of us, I suppose, at times we don't actually want to see what's in the mirror, so we're not ready to do that stuff yet. But
one of the things I was taught once, and it did really helped, is owning the shit you cause for yourself. Like I've come to the piece a long time ago that I am the architect of my own demise 90% of the time. And if I start like getting a little bit shitty and depressed about it, I'm like, you have caused this for yourself. I have those conversations when I'm driving around the daytime. It's all your fault. And the minute you start owning it, it becomes less of a problem and more of a, right, well, what have you got to do to get yourself out of the shit that you've caused for yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Like going to the gym, eating healthy. You know, if someone's a toxic dickhead in your life, fuck them off. Like I 100% do agree.
What if you're the toxic person in everyone else's life, though?
Yeah, there are things you can do, and like to an element, we are all self-destructive. But still, sometimes that doesn't help. Like, you know, the nighttime thoughts, the taking the bombing personally, the like wanting to be liked on stage and stuff. And I do think a lot of people do get into comedy from a dark place.
But you've also got the whole, when you say about lifestyle, you say on one hand about, you know, to make yourself better, the gym, eating healthy. There's the flip side of that, of the using booze or drugs to falsely make you feel better and temporarily make you feel better at the time. But on that one there, there's an even bigger sort of downfall and spiral in there. But because people do use that for those very reasons.
I'll speak openly about it. I used to have a coke problem. I used to spend about £500 a week on cocaine.
Well,
when this thing happened to me, that was my downfall. I lost 25 kilos in a year, but I know that's not the silver lining.
25 grand as well. That's the problem.
Yeah, then Monjano was cheaper. It's not anymore. I was going back to the cocaine for the weight loss.
Yeah.
To be honest, but I think there are still some that no matter what, you know, underlying issues. But you say it's all like, self. A lot of it has happened. Society is dark at the moment. What is there to look forward to? It's like utility bills are going up. I'm not going to go heavily into politics, but is the government doing the best job? Society as it was now to what it was 20 years ago, it does feel bleaker.
But historically speaking, societies have always been bad. Exactly 100 years ago in Europe, what was happening?
Do you know what? Okay, I do agree. I do agree 100 with that. And I was speaking to this African woman the other day on the bus, and she was like, depression hasn't been discovered in Africa yet. Like we're too busy. We've got too much to do. Like,
you know what they say about this flag thing at the minute? Do you know what they're saying about this flag thing for a lot of people? Take away the right wing in the UK, to take away the right wing side of things, right? Do you know what one psychologist came out with about the flag thing? They reckon that probably the best time in the last sort of 50 years has come from the late 80s going into the 90s with the whole Britpop thing, right? Yeah. And it was probably the most prosperous time until we got to around 2008 when it did go downhill with like things like, and it brought back memories of a better time, which is why those Christmas songs that you hear from the 80s are still the ones you hear on the radio now, like
the Gary Glitter one, the all-time
all that shit, right? Yeah. But no, the hero. So they say, oh, he's top bloke. But they say that the Union Jack thing is for a lot of people is just a reminder of a better time that we've had in our current lifetimes now, and that is, we are on a bit of a shitty time in a minute, but all I could ever want for like my side of things is my children grow up in the same sort of how I got to grow up. We haven't gone through a world war. We've had a bit, fuck me, COVID wasn't really that bad, was it? Let's be honest. It was 6 months off of fucking work with a bit of furlough for a lot of people.
Challenge that. I mean, if you was a 2-parent person in a house by yourself, in a flat, no garden.
All right, do you know what? I can take, my house at the time had a nice garden and things like that. Do you know what I mean? So it was one of those ones, and we never had a black cloud in the sky when it was going on, though, did we? So if you did have a garden, it was a nice place to do. But you know, it's you got to take the best out of fucking Annie. That's the difference sometimes, and then until it gets too much, and then you're in the depression thing again.
Okay. I've got one I want to sort of like say to people. What's one thing I want to sort of go around and say one thing we could do to help someone out with mental health? I'll go first. I think every now and then I just need to call up one of my mates and be like, "Look, do you want to go for a pint?" I need to check in on my mates more. I'm shit at that. It's something I need to do.
Maybe be a bit more honest with what again on the flip side of it, instead of asking them if they're right, be a bit more honest with one of your mates that you're having a bit of a bad time yourself. They might be the same.
Yeah.
We're not moving on until you say something different. You know, no copying answers.
I never copied shit.
No, not you, you dickhead. Sorry, I forgot you. Not you, Paul. Sorry.
I'm thinking, like in terms of. So here's the thing. I just moved to Liverpool about like 2 months back, right? I've been doing.
And then did the depression kick in even more?
Exactly, because it's Paul saying that my life was different because these faces weren't there when I was a little kid. So like that's what I'm hearing. So it's
wow.
Love it.
Just kidding, guys. It's jokes. But yeah. So
I never edit, but I'm going to cut out the bit he says kidding on. You know.
So obviously, in terms of having mates or I'm just trying to connect with as many people as possible. And comedy is such a wonderful thing for that, is that you get to meet so many people from so many different sort of hemispheres that it helps you connect. And comedy becomes this vital singular cog in your sort of identity that everyone connects, regardless of who you are, what do you look like, how do you speak. It's so nice. So that's what, like for me, that is what my thing is, to get out of sort of this slum or whatever I feel like is a slum, is just connect. I know I've moved after 30 odd years of living in one country to a very new place. I'm doing comedy in a singular language to a predominantly white group, as indicated in this podcast. I am just.
Why Liverpool?
You saw the Klopp thing, right?
The what?
The Klopp thing at the start.
Oh, so you've been a Liverpool fan?
I've been a Liverpool fan since I was 9.
Can I challenge that?
Yeah, so I'm more loyal than Trent. That's what.
Yeah, and I was trying to think. No, you weren't a glory hunter then, was you? So
I was a fan of Liverpool when Roy Evans was the manager and Michael Owen was just 17. He hadn't even done the England thing with Beckham and England doing that Argentina thing then. So yeah, that's how far back.
So why? I know. Sorry. I'll go. Why did you choose Liverpool? Because I'm Arsenal because my granddad was Arsenal. I always feel like you don't choose your team chooses you, and I never understand anyone who can change teams.
No, it doesn't. For me, it was predominantly. So I'm a history sort of a nerd, and I read into Bill Shankly's life and how left-leaning and how like this ideology of like the socialist construct or the working class construct of Liverpool was existing back in the late 60s, 70s, and then 80s with Margaret Thatcher coming in and the city going to shit and all of that. So that sort of kind of, I don't know, Pakistan was a shithole. So Liverpool kind of like, oh, there's shithole outside as well. So like that sort of kind of connected. And plus that.
I had a joke, you know, there's a lot of burning buildings. It reminds you of Hillsborough. No, that's terrible.
That is dark. But it did. I did connect on the socialist side of things. So yeah, maybe historically speaking, it just spoke to me that way. And on the dumber side of things, I love the color red. I mean, there is Manchester, but
fuck Manchester. I agree. I know you did because I've always liked Liverpool as a team. I've always hated Liverpool fans, but that's for being down south. I mean, completely gone into that's a completely different tangent there. God, Mark, what what was the initial question? It was what advice, wasn't it? What could you do to help someone with mental health? And not Liverpool fans. They're long gone.
I think it's that reminder, what can you control and influence? Because I think we spend so much of our time worrying about things beyond our control. What if this happens? What if that happened? And actually, if we think, right, that's beyond my control, but have I done everything I can to influence it? you know, that's all you can do. That's what's within your power and your gift. And I know I have to remind a lot of people that I work with a lot about that when they're worrying about all sorts of things. I say that in the sense that it's not easy to do that. It's not like you can't just press a button, but yeah, it is helpful to remind yourself of that, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just do that almost like that reset. I will end it with I mean, does anyone else have anything else they want to mention in aid? Because the last question is going to be, you know, sort of like, you know, say like what we can do. Now it's going to be sort of like, what advice could you give yourself?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's probably the toughest question so far, brother.
Well, I know yours will be an hour long. You got a long fucking list. No,
can I get your card after, Mark, so we can talk through some of these issues I got with Dan, please?
I made you bloody worse after this. Sorry, Paul.
Listen, I'll start with this one. I think it's about, you know, don't beat yourself up. See, again, I feel like I'm spouting like some motivational quotes here, but like see everything as a learning thing and that self-reflection. And again, it goes back to that Sarah Millican's law of comedy in life as well. It's like, what
and you got your other shoulder now, remember? Yeah. Oh, God, stop stroking me off, Mark. God.
Oh, Lordy, right.
You dirty bastard. Love it.
That's your lot. As in, I finished my answer.
Oh, I was saying, actually, yeah, I don't come that. I can't come that often, so hopefully it is my lot. So, fucking hell, yeah. Trying to have a serious. Fuck me. What advice would you give yourself, brother?
Don't be in your head too much, because I tend to do that a lot. Like it does kind of like hinder your communication to the outside world as well, because sometimes when you're in your head a lot, you tend to sort of, again, the thing that I said at the start, internalize things so much that you kind of go into your own sense of reality, which might not be the case. So yeah, stop internalizing things, stop being in your head, and just communicate as honestly, as clearly as possible.
Paul?
It's my own sort of trend of
Cheers,
things.
Paul.
No. Yeah, you fucking prick, mate. No, don't tell myself, oh, like, don't give up, because I think I've completed something, because I don't think comedy is something you can complete at all.
You can complete a book. You can this. Yeah. Is there a point where you'd ever say, right, I've completed comedy?
No, because like I said, once you've done that, okay, do you know what? Again, something I read, and I don't read a fucking lot. I tell you that for nothing. I've written a book. I can't even read that. So it was
book, by the way, guys.
No, it is. You get probably what? How long do you reckon you would use the base set for material for a set? Like a year potentially?
I don't know. I think some jokes are timeless.
I'd like to think in about a year's time, when I've got a year, 18 months into my journey, I've got a whole new one, and I can go back to that base material. But it's, again, you can't complete it, because you know, by the time you've got round to the start of all the clubs or the pubs you've been to, and they've heard your shtick, you know, you don't want to be that bloke that keeps using the same joke. So you can't complete it. You've got to.
See, I disagree on that. I think you can do the same jokes over and over again, because, like, imagine you went to go see a band, and every time you went to see them, there was a new song. Whilst it'd be interesting, there is the greatest hits.
Well, there you go. Then in itself, the mental health issue there is I need to create more stuff, because people will think poorly of me because I'm using the same jokes. That's, again, it's another.
Yeah, but no one thinks that. But I understand that's your inner monologue talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And if that's what you need to do in the comedy world, then that's what you need to do. There's no right or wrong answer.
And don't get me wrong, I fucking love my jokes. I think I'm laughing at myself on stage sometimes. I'm a fucking idiot, but it's that inner monologue. is saying you got to come up with something fresh, or they'll think you're boring.
Yeah, see, I've been a prick to you on this, but I think your stuff's brilliant. I love you. You know I'm a fan.
I want to go on record and say you have been a pricker, and Mark, we will have a chat, counselling wise after. So,
But I'll do my one. I think I just need to take a step back and say that everything is gonna be okay. In the short term, things might be dark. In the long run, everything's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. And yeah, I can use comedy as a defense mechanism, but I do need to talk to people. I do need to talk to my friends a bit more and say, you know what? Yeah, I've had a shit day, and just open up, and yeah, maybe hit the gym more, maybe a little bit healthier, and then I think that's sort of like, yeah,
that's
what I
good
can
one.
advise myself. Yes. And yeah, speak to people on the situation, because the one I thought was weird. So when I did the questionnaire for, what episode do people want to be on, some of them had, like 8 responses, 9 responses. This one had 64 responses. Men's mental health.
Wow.
It was the one that I think 80% of the men who did the questionnaire, they ticked this box. It's something that was almost a little bit shocking, that every single person had I didn't know you like pussy, Mark. Sorry. God, that was the bit I was going to clip for the inspirational quote and your fucking cat walked in. Um, yeah, fuck me. This is the bit that I was so shocked that, everyone had an input. Everyone has a story about it and everyone can relate. And that was sort of like, yeah, a bit like, everyone has the story, and basically I'm not alone.
No.
Like, we are not alone. Paul, you are alone. We are not.
I
We
do
are
feel
not.
alone. I do feel alone.
We are not alone. And
I didn't even wear my Monday night vest tonight because I thought you'd take the piss out of me.
I've been walking alone in Liverpool for a while now, even though this literally says you'll never walk alone. Like I've walked alone in Liverpool for.
How long have you been in Liverpool for?
It's been I think 5 months now. Yeah.
Okay. How's the community people up there?
It's a nice sort of interesting group of people up there, but largely friendly in terms, especially the comedy circuit that's here in the Northwest. But it takes time, especially when you're completely coming in from a very different place. Also, you're running in with the open micers on most nights, and they kind of don't see you as primarily an open micer because you're not an open micer. So it's like a whole thing of like being too overqualified sometimes, or just coming across as too pompous
Yeah.
unintentionally. But that's how it is, and it kind of like fits in. So it is like a teething issue in at the start. Obviously, that's why I went to the Fringe right after coming, because I wanted to be in that hyper sort of comedic world, so that it kind of like stops me from feeling jarring all the time.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone I can get you in contact with up there. I have a couple of people. I'll message you privately after. Like, I'm basically I'm an unofficial agent to if I can help someone out with a gig, I will. And
Even though he's a prick, that I can vouch for. Yeah.
They message it. They yell at me afterwards, being like, "Why the hell did you recommend him?" But that's. I mean, guys, brilliant. Thanks ever so much for coming on and sharing your story with me. I appreciate it so much, and I don't know how much justice we did do the topic. I personally believe quite a bit. It's nice just once again to know that there's people out there, even the people you see on stage who are there to make you laugh. They also have their inner demons they're fighting, and no one's alone. So I mean, one thing I would love if anyone does watch this, I don't know if people will watch. If anyone in the comment section, do me a favor and just text a mate and just write in the comment section, "I've texted a mate." And like, even if I get one person, just one person in the comment section saying, "You know what, I've texted a mate," then this has done its job.
Yeah.
All right. So, Paul, you can't text me, you prick. Fucking hell.
Fuck off.
But I blocked your number. Guys, look, cheers ever so much for coming on. If there's anyone want to say anything else?
No, I mean, it was good, to be honest. Nice conversation. I said very, very news nighty at one point, wasn't it, Mark? Like you said, but still is
the studio.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful getting to know you guys, and I hope to see you around the circuit. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great.
No, it's a pleasure. I'll stop recording now. Cheers, guys. Thank you ever so much for watching.
Take it steady, yeah.